Hello, Governor. It's Steve here with another bat rep for you. It's Nemo 1 again. This time I was up against High Life, and he was playing Reznik 2 with the list as follows. So it's Reznik 2, the huge-based Warcaster, a Scourge of Heresy, a Reckoner, 2 Crusaders, and a Vessel of Judgment, the new battle engine, which he was testing out. 2 Vassal Mechanics, 2 Racks, Choir of Menoth, some Flamebringers, Visigoth, Uvia Roven, and Honor Guard Roven, Gaius, and Cassian. So Reznik is a general support caster. He just generally buffs his army quite nicely, along with an anti-infantry feat, which every time you box an enemy model, it creates a little AoE, and you do a power 14 damage on everything around it. So that feat isn't great against my Nemo 1 list, which is Jack Spam. So it's Nemo 1 with a Squire, and then he's got a huge battle group. He's got a Dynamo, a Lancer, an Ironclad, 2 Hammersmiths, and a Defender. He's also got a Journeyman Warcaster with a Firefly with him, and he's got Jakes with a Centurion with him. And so my feat is actually really good against War Machine, and the way it usually works is that depending on whether I get first or second turn, either at the top of turn 2 or at the bottom of turn 2, I'm going to be feating to shut down my opponent's Warjacks each turn. So it's not as good against Hordes, still does a bit of damage, but it's more of a finisher against Hordes because they can heal so well each turn. So I got first turn. As you can see, my deployment was fairly central. Unfortunately, I don't have any Pathfinder in the list, and I had this big body of water in the middle of my deployment area, so that was kind of annoying. So I did have to split my battle group across on either side of that. So because of the way the scenarios worked out, it seems to me to be a good idea to get the Centurion up to try and contest the centre zone and maybe the square zone on my opponent's side of the table. And then I've got the 2 Hammersmiths backing him up, and followed by everything else on the other side. So looking at Dynamo and the Defender in the zone nearest me, because they can sit back and their threat ranges are long enough that they can sit back and still affect the battle. And then ready with the Ironclad to get up in front of them on that side. So that new battle engine has got a big target painted on it. It's all the new battle engines are pretty good, and they've all had some fairly decent changes. This one's the one that can spend its own life to improve lots of different things, do different miracles, and it seems very good. So I was very keen on taking that down as quickly as possible. So that's why my first turn looked like this. As you can see, we've marked out the threat range of that battle engine there, and I'm making sure that I'm not anywhere near it being able to attack me on his first turn. So other than that, I've just moved up Dynamo and the Defender up to be able to threaten shooting on anything that approaches them on the next turn. The Ironclad is there. It can also probably charge anything that comes up, depending on how well I position or how badly he positions. And then, I've got Centurion trying to get up into that zone. I'm still not sold on the Centurion on Jakes, because she wants to be able to cast Sidekick on the Centurion to stop him being pushed and knocked down, which precludes being able to put Arcane Shield up on the Centurion with the Journeyman Warcaster. So still not sure about that. I'm still thinking about putting the Centurion on Nemo instead, and then having the Ironclad on Jakes, which will give the Ironclad that bit of extra range and defense. It's a pretty good buff to get an Ironclad up to defense 14. But then that stops the Centurion having all the no knockdown and no push effects. So maybe next time I play, maybe I'll try that out. Anyway, everything else is just getting up as far as it possibly can. And using my focus to do a bit of extra positioning, getting my models a bit further up, using locomotion. And just basically waiting for his army to come into my threat ranges. So here's what he did. So he very wisely stayed a bit further back with his jacks, put them generally in quite defensive positions, like using that wall and the forest there to block my way. Slight concern is these cavalry, these fast light cavalry coming up on the left here, with Pathfinder and Vengeance. Vengeance, very important. I think it's one of the most powerful abilities in the game, purely because people always either forget what it does or underestimate what it can achieve in a game, but we'll see about that later on in this game. So really looking at shutting down on my next turn, shutting down his jacks with my feet, and doing my best to take out that battle engine. So here's what I did. So as you can see, I got a couple of shots off on the battle engine. Dynamo took a shot onto the battle engine using boosted damage with his stack of 4 focus, but unfortunately he had a guy with shield guard standing behind. Luckily he was still within 2 inches of the battle engine, but it meant that I didn't quite do as much damage to that as I wanted, and I think I even missed with a reroll actually, so I believe that shut down Dynamo's turn pretty quickly, and obviously an extra shot with the defender into the battle engine, but not really doing that much damage, well certainly not enough to worry him. Maybe about half the boxes from what I remember. And then I've got my Ironclad here positioned ready to charge and do lots of damage on the following turn, because I feated on this turn and I used a lot of my focus to boost the damage rolls so that I could, and increase the control range of Nemo so that I could catch all of his 4 jacks in my control range, and at the same time boost the damage, so I was doing as much damage as possible to each one and guaranteeing that I could disrupt them. And disrupt them I did. I got them all in a position where they can't have any focus put on them, which was really nice, and that means all of my jacks can then walk up into their threat ranges and not worry too much about getting charged on the next turn. And certainly not so he could possibly maybe walk up, I guess, and have a bit of a bash, but can't buy any extra attacks, so it's not quite as good. And on the left side, I moved my Hammersmiths up behind the Centurion, and the Centurion walked up and took out, or charged up maybe, and took out one of those cavalry, and as we know, they had ability up that gives them vengeance. Bit of a mistake possibly, especially as they have Pathfinder. So what you can't see from this picture, or maybe you can spot, but these are speed, I think they're speed 9 cavalry, which meant that having killed one of them and giving them that vengeance move, that they would then be able to get around and actually threaten Jakes, who's standing there next to the junior near the water. So that's exactly what he did on his turn. Look at those cavalry, they're all the way around the side here. One of them I think 2 of them maybe killed Jakes, and then after the reposition, one of them's threatening the junior warcaster here. So it's pretty decent play here, and it's a pretty nice trade-off to shut down that Centurion by killing Jakes. So that Centurion is not much more than a big roadblock for my Hammersmiths, so that kind of crippled my left flank. And I've also got a bit of a problem here with 4 very fast cavalry, almost all of them within charge range of Nemo, and all with Pathfinder. So if I kill 3 of them, then the last one might be able to kill Nemo. I was able to survive that, but unfortunately at quite a big cost. And then I've got a problem here. I need to deal with these horses who are behind my lines on my next turn, but I also want to be doing a lot of damage to all of his jacks and things, which will all be chargeable. So here's what I did. So yeah, I prioritised killing those cavalry because I felt like any one of them had the potential to kill off Nemo completely and end the game. So I devoted a lot of resources to getting jacks to them and shooting them, and doing as much as I possibly could to try and take them down. And I did manage to take them all down. It worked out all right in the end, but as you can see, I had to devote sort of 60% of my army to doing that. So that wasn't ideal. Although on the other side, I was able to take down the battle engine, so I committed the Ironclad in there. I think he was able to take down the battle engine pretty quickly, and actually much quicker than I wanted. And unfortunately, the other jack there was standing just outside of my melee range, so I wasn't able to spend my final 2 focus that I had on my Ironclad to take down that, or at least try and start damaging that jack. And so that was a bit silly on my part because I had a hard time killing the battle engine on the previous turn. I assumed he would go down very much more difficult on this turn, but he went down extremely easily, unfortunately, on that turn. Then I also charged in Dynamo, which actually, in hindsight, was a bit of a mistake. This was an overcommitment in this case because I wasn't able to kill off that jack. I believe I left him on 1 box, and he's within range of my opponent's mechanics. So they're probably able to or maybe he was just out of range of the mechanics, but he was still able to activate on the next turn and do some stuff. So yeah, that leaves that Ironclad and Dynamo within a threat range of 3 of these Menoth heavies, and once they're buffed up, they're pretty good. Then yeah, so I haven't been able to move my Centurion because I don't have a Jack Marshal or a Journeyman or a Warcaster anywhere near him. So yeah, my Hammersmiths are just in the position they are because I used them to help take down the cavalry. So here's what my opponent did on the next turn. So as you can see, Ironclad and Dynamo no longer there. He was able to take them down. I believe the damaged Warjack stood aside and allowed the other 2 to step in and take them down. So yeah, that felt like a bit of a negative peace trade on that side. So lost the battle engine, almost killed one of his jacks, killed the battle engine, and then lost Dynamo and an Ironclad for my trouble. So not ideal, still not terrible, but not ideal. Yeah, and then I believe, he just moved up Reznik to start worrying about scenario play here, and actually because my Firefly wasn't quite sitting in the zone, was able to score some points. So that put my opponent up to, well, it appears that it put him up to 5 points at this point, judging by the dice on the side of the clock there, and I was up to 3 points. That must be because I scored on the centre zone on the last turn and on my zone as well. So there are points being scored, and he's 2 points ahead of me at this point. So my next turn. So this is where I tried to get a little bit tricky. So on the left-hand side, what I did was I I walked up and hit my Centurion in the back with one of the Hammersmiths, and that slammed him. And I was hoping for a decent slam to slam him into Reznik and cause some damage, but in actual fact all he did was slam him over the top of the solo that was standing in the way and blocking me there. So that's why the Centurion got moved. Then the other Hammersmith managed to squeeze around the side and take down the character Jack, whose name I can't remember, and also slammed him into Reznik and caused caused 5 points of damage to Reznik, which he was able to negate with a bit of focus. Then I was also able to move my defender up onto to contest his flag there, and take a shot with him against the Jack, who had a low number of boxes left, and took him down. And then I just used Nemo to cast some locomotion and reposition a couple of guys around. So I moved the defender further up towards the flag and out of the threat ranges of those remaining Jacks there. And at the last minute, I spotted that I needed some more guys in the centre zone, and I moved up my Squire and put him just towing into the zone there. So this feels pretty good at this point on attrition, although I'm still allowing my opponent to score points. So he goes up to 6 points on this time. And because I've moved one of my guys out of the zone with locomotion there, I actually prevented myself from being able to score points. So that turned out to be a little bit of a mistake that I could have avoided. So yeah, I've got my Hammersmith in the centre zone there, and the Squire contesting. The Centurion is inert, so he cannot contest that zone. And the Firefly there is actually not quite sitting in the zone, so he won't count for scenario play on the next turn. But apart from that, I'm doing pretty well on the attrition. He's got 2 heavies left, but probably not enough power to take down everything that I've got left without me retaliating. And I've got a couple of heavies within a danger zone of Reznik there, looking good for a potential assassination coming up soon. And my opponent, he managed to spot that he could then win on scenario, unfortunately. Because I put my defender out of the zone over on the right hand side with locomotion after he had shot, that meant that if he could get that Jack, the character Jack is still alive. If he could get that Jack down, kill the Squire, and then park that Jack into both zones there, then he could score and get 5 points ahead of me, which is that was unfortunately the end of the game. So he used Reznik to take down my Hammersmith and also one of his knights there, the weapon master guys. Had enough attacks with Reznik to be able to take down the Hammersmith, and then I just didn't have enough stuff contesting the zone. So even though I seem to be up on attrition, and I appeared to be about to win on an assassination. He managed to get those points that he needed and won the game. So yeah, so I was a bit disappointed that I didn't pay enough attention to scenario there, but in the end I was quite happy that I was playing my list okay. I was very happy with my little slam trick with the Centurion, and yeah, overall very good game, nice and tactical, and yeah, I'll leave it there and I'll see you on the next one.